right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the recap. Michael D'Angelo, Mr. Big D, Daryl Ortiz here once again to recap all the happenings from Raw and SmackDown this week, coming off of Money in the Bank. It was the previous PLE, and now enjoying all the fallout from that, Big D.
Lots of fallout.
It was lots of fallout, lots of stuff to get to, so we're just going to dive right into it. Big D, definitely. What happened on Monday Night Raw?
We actually kicked off with CM Punk, of course, speaking to his actions on how he screwed over
everyone.
Screwed over Drew McIntyre, got Drew McIntyre suspended. But oddly enough, some point in between that, he was trying to convince, what's the word I'm looking for? He's trying to promote the reinstatement of Drew McIntyre because he wants him back, right? Because he's not finished with him. But the whole spiel he did was actually pretty cool. Of course, it's CM Punk. He's going to give a good promo, talking about consequences and actions have consequences, and kind of it was kind of like, I think it was fitting because it was a little bit how do I say it? It was a little condescending. Like the underlying tone was a little condescending, like kind of talking to Drew like he's a child, like what you do have consequences, and these are the consequences of your act. But then it was great. What kind of course, it was a good promo and it was a good start. But what elevated it, in my opinion, to a great segment was Seth Rollins came out and kind of called him out on his crap, right? And it's like, your actions have consequences because you cost me. Now I can't challenge for the title as long as Damian Priest is champion. So you didn't think about, like, he kind of reversed it on him and pretty much calling him out. And I think he told him, I don't remember the exact words, but it was something along the lines of, once you get cleared, I'm going to make sure and snap the other arm so that you're out again. And which was very fitting because if you remember back when CM Punk first returned, the person that was the most upset about it was Seth Rollins, because he doesn't like CM Punk. He feels he disrespects the industry. He feels he's not, in it for, the purity of the business and all that good stuff, which is very fitting of Seth Rollins. I know Seth Rollins is just mega over. Obviously, I feel a future Hall of Famer for sure. And so, his words carry a lot of weight with them. And it was a great back and forth between the two. And I really enjoyed this segment. I usually don't like starting off shows with segments, but this was actually a really good way to kick it off because it set the tone between their rivalry and it kind of sowed the seeds, right? Because, CM Punk wants Drew back, but Drew suspended indefinitely for hitting Adam Pearce. And so, which, by the way, Adam, he didn't hit you in the teeth. He hit you like on the cheek, bro. But whatever. He caught you like closer to the ear, if anything. I mean, you said right in the teeth.
It wasn't that bad. It wasn't that heinous.
Just suck it up, Buttercup. Nah. But anyways, it was great to set it up because if you don't get Drew back, then you have a feud with Seth and CM Punk underlined. So like CM Punk's kind of like, you're busy with Drew. Don't forget, I'm still here. So what did you think?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it was, CM Punk's always good. I am a little bit sick of CM Punk at this point, just coming out and running people down on the mic and not wrestling. And I know he's been injured. We just saw him in that one match at the Royal Rumble. And so for me, I'm always a little stale on CM Punk. But, of course, he's great on the mic. I thought that Seth Rollins was excellent here. And I also felt like when Rollins came out, you had more of the crowd on his side. So when he would say things to run down CM Punk, they were cheering for Seth and agreeing with him a little bit more. So I was like, oh, this is kind of a little bit of an interesting turn here where the crowd's always, white hot for CM Punk. But in this case, when he was talking about, hey, actions have consequences except when it comes to you, and was running him down, the crowd was behind Seth Rollins the whole time. And then there was this moment where CM Punk had this very awkward, like, trying to apologize. Look, I'm trying to apologize to you, but be kind of an a-hole about it. And the crowd was, like, not responding because they were like, we're not going to agree with him and cheer him. But they really weren't. They weren't booing him either. They were just like, hey, you're wrong, man. It was like this kind of awkward, like, this is a little strange. So that portion of the promo got awkward for CM Punk. And I thought Rollins was excellent here, and justifiably so. He did cost him. It is good character building and story building for them because he has been one of the more vocal people about hating CM Punk. So it doesn't feel like it's out of nowhere. It makes sense. Right. So I really liked this, but I thought Seth was the one who really shined here for me.
He did. He really did. And of course, CM Punk gave the apology, but again, took it back in a sense by saying,
yeah.
He kind of apologized, but he didn't. Yeah, so it is what it is. After that, we had a fun match. Actually, I actually enjoyed this match. It was Jey Uso versus Chad Gable. It was a good one to see. Chad was actually holding his own as a, again, reminding us why he is a great singles competitor. I've always liked Chad Gable, his style of wrestling. It's Kurt Angle-esque. I remember when they were going to do when they were going to do that storyline of Kurt Angle with the illegitimate child, I was honestly thinking it was going to be Chad Gable because I felt that would have made more sense because their styles are very similar, very, very similar. And so that would have been kind of cool. Yeah. But it wasn't, and it would that kind of didn't work out. But it's okay because we still got Chad Gable here, and he is doing his thing and shining. Right as he was about to speak, and I bring that up because he was about to lock in the ankle lock, which we know it as the angle lock because Kurt Angle made that great. But right when he locked it in or was about to lock it in, the lights cut out. And of course the crowd fireflies were out, and it was Wyatt Six time. And it was hilarious to see because right as the final lights go out, you could see it was Jey Uso's face was like he was absolutely terrified, running like he sprinted back up the ramp because he's always said, "I don't want none of this, I don't want none of that." And he even said about the fireflies, "You can have them back. I wasn't trying to take them." Like he just bolted out of there, and the camera caught a good angle of his face. It was like cartoonish, where he was just running out, and it was hilarious to see. But it was good because again, it builds credibility to the Wyatt Six and the danger they present without even being present yet. We'll get into that here. Then Chad Gable was able to kind of, get out. And, of course, Jay hit the spear, won the match, and then bolted out. But then after that, Gable was
like when the lights flickered,
he got distracted. He just hit it.
He hit
got the win, got out. He got out of Dodge. Yeah. I've never seen Jay run so fast in my life. But Gable was able to get away. And then you had, of course, Abby the Witch, Sister Abigail, whatever they're going to call her, show up there, Nikki Cross, with another package, handing it over to commentary so that they can. And then it was funny because it was the return of your favorite commentator.
Pat McAfee. He's back. I was like, the dream is dead. Pat McAfee's back after being gone for 2 weeks.
Back. Well, they're in Indy, so of course he's going to be back, right? But of course she hands it over to Pat McAfee, and they're like, I swear to God. Of course they made a little joke about it, about why can't they give a DVD or whatever, but but again, they got the tape that says play me, so we'll get the Uncle Howdy promo later, which actually I like the way they set it up like that, because then you're getting the Uncle Howdy promo. It makes for good rating retention, because you have to stay watching to figure out what the promo is, because it's going to come up at some point during the show. You don't know when. Usually kind of guess after midpoint, but still, it's good to have that. And then that was the end of that. I mean, I don't know about your thoughts about the whole.
Yeah. I mean, the match was fine. Like for me, it was good. They were still doing the whole, hey, we're both kind of banged up for Money in the Bank.
Yeah.
So they're kind of doing the nursing rib injuries and all that good stuff, which that always kind of diminishes those matches a little bit, because they're trying to go along with the, hey, we're still hurt, but we're back competing like the next day. Wasn't a clean win necessarily, just because it was like a distraction finish. So it's like, okay, I get it. They had Chad Gable get distracted by what was going on. I still am starting to think now at this point, though, that the Wyatt Six is not coming after Chad Gable, and they're coming after Jay. And the reason why is every time that they've had something happen with Chad Gable, or they've had it come out, Jay's actually been out there. Mm-hmm. If you go back, because they had that discussion before where he's like, hey, maybe they're coming after you. And then they come out. And then when they did their first entrance, Jay was the one who was wrestling. And it was at the end while he was celebrating. That was when they did their debut. Yeah. So I'm like, Jay's actually been there each time. So I'm thinking this is like a red herring to be like, because Chaggy was like, they're coming for me. I know it. They're coming for me. I know it. I'm betting there's going to be a switch. And it's like, no, they were never coming for you. They're coming for Jay. Because he betrayed his family. So I think they're trying to bait and switch us there, because Jay's always in the mix with it. Right. So I'm just going on record to saying I'm thinking that's where this is going. But
no, and that makes sense.
Which would be cool. Which would be cool if it either way. But I love all the Wyatt Six stuff, and we'll talk about the promo later.
Yeah, and then, honestly, I agree. I could see that. I could see that happening, because they talk about turning your back on family, and to an extent, it could seem that's what Jay did, because he not only did he get out of the bloodline, he went to an entirely different show. He had Cody help him out to get out and go to the entire, like literally just leave. So maybe we'll have to wait and see what happens. Yeah. After that, we had Bronson Reed against Pete Dunne, which was an interesting match to see because normally you see a difference in stature, and you're gonna think that the bigger guy is gonna just dominate, but not with Pete Dunne. Of course, the bruiserweight can hold his own with his joint manipulation, and I love those moves. I think it's so much fun to watch Pete Dunne. But yeah, he did his thing. Was able to kind of get Bronson Reed a little worried, right? Because he was, going at the arm. I think he even did the arm spot where like he bends the arm the other way and like jumps on the elbow, which was pretty cool. I always like that. It's a good visual to see. He's able to kind of just, continue manipulating those joints to get Bronson Reed down to a knee or two, and at times. But then, of course, Bronson Reed able to overcome that just because he's Bronson Reed. There was a point in the match where I think Bronson Reed was climbing up on the top rope, and Pete Dunne like jumped up and grabbed onto him and was able to manipulate again and get him back down. But Bronson was able to get him down, send him down to the mat, and then he did the tsunami to win the match. But after that, he wanted to hit another tsunami, and then out comes Sheamus, because they were talking about how Tyler Bate is out injured, and so are we going to see a solo run for Pete Dunne, or is he going to stay a tag team? So then when Sheamus' music hit, it was like, oh, there's somebody to save him, and Sheamus came out for the save. But Pete Dunne was not having any of it. They kind of planted the seed there in commentary that Pete Dunne's still upset with him because he feels like Sheamus abandoned the Brawling Brutes, which he really did. He just disappeared and was like, bye, y'all got this, whatever. But it was good to see. Again, long-term storytelling. I like it. The hesitation. Sheamus, they're trying to shake his hand or whatever and talk to him, and Pete Dunne just, smacks him away and just walks away. So very interesting to see that storyline proceed, and I want to see what becomes of that, especially once Tyler Bates back. So your thoughts?
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was good for what it was. I was surprised it wasn't a squash match, because when I saw Bronson Reed versus Pete Dunne, like, is he just going to come out here and run over Pete Dunne? And so it was competitive. It felt like, hey, now that Tyler's out, they were just trying to find something for Pete Dunne to do, which is also a bit of a shame because New Catch Republic was like so hot when they started rolling, and now they're not really doing anything with them anymore, which is a bummer because they're really great. And I was hoping they were going to give them a tag team title run, and they just have kind of fallen by the wayside.
I'm still hoping.
There's still hope. Well, now we'll see how long Tyler Bates out. But it's kind of like every time they got a good thing, like the Creed brothers. Every time they got a good thing going with somebody, then they just get tired and just push them off of TV. So that's a little bit of a bummer. Yeah, but it was a good match, and I think this was really more also the vehicle, because they did the interview with Sheamus before this, so I was like, Sheamus is going to come out, like this is a vehicle more for that storytelling, and they just were like, let's put Bronson Reed and Pete Dunne out here, or Pete Dunne, as Pretty Deadly likes to say. Every time I see Pete Dunne, all I think of is Pete Dunne, and Pretty Deadly calling him that, so I can't help myself, but it was good.
Yeah. After that, we had apparently Bronson Reed committed assault on Sami Zayn. I mean, not Bronson Reed, sorry. Braun Breaker. We're still talking about Bronson Reed, but see, all the Brawns are just, there's a lot of Brawns.
I know, Bronson Reed, Braun Strowman, Braun Breaker. They've got too many. They got to mix it up a little.
They're all spelled differently. At least I'll give them that. But anywho, Braun Breaker just assaults Sami Zayn like nobody's business, and of course, coming to the save was Ilya Dragunov, which, of course, right? Because you have that whole interturmoil between them. So we'll see what happens with that. Obviously, it's going to lead to some kind of fatal four-way for the Intercontinental title or triple threat, I'm assuming. So that's what we're probably going to get at Mania. I think that's what they're building towards. I don't know what you think.
Yeah, probably. And then, of course, they set this up as soon as it happened. It was like, Ilya Dragunov versus Braun Breaker later tonight. So they kind of set the table for that. And it does feel like they're kind of building to, which has become the thing now, is triple threat matches or fatal four-way matches for the title. So wouldn't be surprised if they go in that direction.
Same here. And then after that, we had the Judgment Day taking on Braun Strowman. See, this is why you had all three Brauns back to back. You had Braun Strowman and the Awesome Truth. Of course, Judgment Day being smart, right? The Awesome Truth is doing their intro, and they're coming in and singing and all that. And Miz just completely off note as always. just
Yeah,
off
I was
by a
gonna
little
mention
bit.
that too. I was like,
I don't know if that's
I'm like,
purpose,
Miz
like
is-
on purpose, but
I
it's
can't
just,
tell either.
I
I'm like,
can't.
is he intentionally?
Is he that
Miz, go
rhythmically
out here and just be
challenged?
the whitest white guy that you can possibly be. It's like
Call
go
him
out here,
Wonder Bread.
have no rhythm, and it's I first because I thought, oh, maybe it's just like they're trying to get back into the rhythm of doing an entrance together every single week. He's
Yeah.
always like a hair off.
I mean,
Every
y'all
single
travel
week,
together,
and it bugs
practice.
me every time.
Practice.
Yeah, I'm like, unless this is just supposed to be intentional as part of the
I
comedy,
think it
but I don't
is.
think it is. It's just
Part of me thinks it is because it's just so off. It's
yeah.
and coming from a music background, like you have like your rhythm, right? And it's like he's always, not only is he like off the beat, he's like on the upbeat. Like it's weird. Like it's just it's way off. And I'm like, dude. But anywho, they take advantage, Judgment Day. They don't want Braun out there because why? Braun's been looking for them. And so, they take advantage and start jumping Awesome Truth from the get. Of course, Braun Strowman eventually does come out, eventually hobbles his way to the ring, and we have a match. So Braun Strowman there, The Miz and R-Truth hit a double attitude adjustment, which was, fitting because, of course, John Cena is R-Truth's childhood hero. This is what happens when I don't have coffee.
I'm telling you, man. It's too
That's my
early.
fault.
No, I was like,
That's my fault. But anyways,
child.
I should have had coffee. It's okay, guys. We'll get through it. But anyways, Miz and R-Truth hit a double attitude adjustment. Of course, John Cena being R-Truth's childhood hero. There it is. And of course, Strowman tags in, chokeslam Balor into God knows where, the depths of hell, I'm assuming, because that was a vicious choke. That was a hard choke slam. And of course, the Judgment Day broke up the count.
It looked great.
Yeah, it did. Finn can sell. Finn's such a great person. I love it. So, at the end of the day, you had Strowman and R-Truth hit a combined two-person Strowman Express. That was actually pretty fun to see because, R-Truth is just awesome.
That was my favorite
everything
spot of the
he
night,
does.
was them kind of holding hands and running around and doing
I thought that was so cool.
The laps around the ring.
That was so cool. I love it. And so McDonough just took off from Strowman, and it allowed Finn Balor to get R-Truth from behind, and then he hit the coup de grace and won the match. So you didn't let Awesome Truth win. At the same time, you also had the Judgment Day doing Judgment Day things, right? Even though it was a distraction, but still a little bit different because you're still furthering the Braun Strowman, and for some reason, Braun Strowman and the Judgment Day feud, that is apparently a thing. So yeah, we'll see what happens with
continues.
that. I don't know what you thought about that match.
Fun match. Yeah, it was fun. It was what it was. It was a lot of filler, but it was a fun match.
Yeah, it was all right. Okay. After that, one of my favorite parts of the night, my favorite part of every night of Raw, is the Uncle Howdy promo where, and this one's a little bit different. He kind of reintroduced us to everybody. Talked about each individual member, talked about being sick, and what was the word? Twisted and sick and all that good stuff. My favorite part was when he was like, he's like, so if we're supposed to be, whatever, then we will be sick and twisted or whatever. And my favorite part was,
I think he said, if you think we are sick, then sick is what we'll be.
Exactly, which is beautiful.
And it was so, like, everything about it was so poetic and so well done and so sinister, and made them feel like a real threat. Like with for Huskus, it was like he's a glutton for punishment, and they just show like Huskus the pig boy, and then they do you'll be begging for mercy as the buzzard circle. Like everything about it was just like so quick and succinct and really good and hitting all the notes.
And it wasn't drawn out, which is what I love about it. It's very to the point. No. It's long. It's a bit of a lengthy promo. It's not that long, maybe about 3-4 minutes at the most. But he hits everybody so wonderfully, and then the zoom ins on each of them, and like the production of it is just so good. And then hearing him talk as Uncle Howdy and as himself, I think is amazing. And it goes to show his talent, and that I think he's also, not only is he wanting to do his brother proud, but he's also showing why WWE dropped the ball with him and giving him the Believe gimmick, right? And even though, just like his brother, I mean, you and I spoke about this, privately, but who else could put over freaking Yowie Wowie than Bray Wyatt?
Yeah.
Right? And it's like they set him up for failure by saying, you got to put over that phrase. And Bo Dallas put over Believe. Like, he put that over. Like, that worked. and you never would have thought. But it was, the whole crowd. It was
as
awesome.
silly as it was and absurd as it was, he still got it.
They both have wondrous ways with words, and I think this shows how bad they dropped the ball originally with him. And I think this is beautiful, and it still makes me sad because imagine him and Bray together right now. Like, holy hell, that would have been amazing. But this is phenomenal too. I love it. My favorite part was after that promo. I guess Adam Pearce was, strolling to his office, saying what's up to everybody, and he opens the door, and who's sitting in the chair waiting for him is Bo. And he just looks over and he's just sitting there, and he just looked over and just smiled. Oh my god, that was awesome! That's oh my god.
This is the best video so far. So best video package so far, and they keep getting better.
Yes.
Which I was more worried that when they did the first couple of videos, I was like, are they going to start losing steam with these? No. They've gotten consistently better. And this one was the best so far. That moment was great because it was like you really have, other than that walkout they did on the first introduction, where he's in the Uncle Howdy character, and they all came out. And you haven't seen Uncle Howdy or you haven't seen Bo Dallas. Right. And so you see the videos. So this was the first time you really see him kind of out there in the world. And just him, you get a couple of seconds of him sitting in the office and you know that he's there. Was great. It was all they needed to do. And it was awesome. And it was kind of like chilling, like, oh, what does this mean? Like, what's going to happen? What does he need from Adam Pearce? So I loved it. And they've so far done this about as flawlessly as they could have done. So kudos to them. Hats off. Hopefully it continues.
I agree. And I loved every second of it. It's so good. So after that, tough act to follow, I feel. You had Ilya Dragunov against Braun Breaker. And again, just another hard-hitting match. Of course, they have the rivalry because they faced off for the NXT Championship at one point back in NXT. They had amazing matches then. This is no different. Honestly, what a great match to watch. Ilya being just brutal, getting Braun Breaker off the top rope and hitting a power bomb, and then following up with a senton. I just like the speed of Ilya's offense, right? Like he hits the power bomb, goes back up to the top, hits the center. Like it's just relentless attack after relentless attack, and everything is very impactful and very purposeful. And same thing with Braun, right? They both are very powerhouses, and they're big powerhouses. So of course Braun Breaker tried to hit a running spear outside the ring, but of course he hit him with a knee, which was nuts to see. Then you had Ilya trying to go get him, and before he could go attack him, this is where the match went boom. In my opinion, this was up there for me. I was expecting this to be my match of the night just because of who it was and how brutal they started off. And then it just went flat for me because Braun Breaker just grabs it. And I know it's no easy feat, but he grabs the announce chair and just throws it at Ilya and just, practically decapitates him with it. He hits him with the chair, gets the disqualification, and that was the end of the match. Sami Zayn comes about to return the favor, make the save, but Braun Breaker just sent him over. He sent them both actually. He just tossed them off over the announce table, and that was the segment. That was the match ending, and not a fan of how it ended. What about you?
Yeah, so I was torn on this. This one I considered this one my match of the night, but I didn't like the end either because it was so great up until that moment. When he just chucked the chair at him, and it's like, DQ. And I kind of knew it was like, this was probably going to end with interference. It was going to end with a disqualification. I half expected Sammy to run down and just jump him during it, and because they do that a lot. So it was a little silly to have Braun just get mad and chuck the chair at him and get himself disqualified. Although, if you want to play it into, hey, he's inexperienced, we kind of saw the inexperience and immaturity in the Sami Zayn thing. So here's this rearing its head again. Maybe, but I didn't like it. I wasn't wild about how they finished that. But not unexpected that it was going to end in some sort of controversy or DQ. It wasn't going to be a clean finish for either one of them. So I'd still probably say it was my match of the night, but I was not happy with that. When it happened, I was like, ugh, really? Yeah, like we couldn't have done this differently.
And they were such on, and they were on such a tear too. It was building so well. Yeah. And I was like, oh, this is
they have great chemistry. like you had said, they have great chemistry together. It's like they've
Yeah.
done a bunch of matches. They have great chemistry. Braun, with all his creativity with his power moves, he does the gorilla press, dropping him into the knees.
Yeah.
Like everything about it, both of them, they're so physically talented, and they're
Mm-hmm.
both very, very gifted. There was so many great things about this match, and it was like on the end.
Yeah. It was
Like-
a letdown.
like,
It was
let's-
such a letdown.
It was just like we could have done something better here.
agree.
But I would say with the quality of matches tonight, this was probably still
Yeah.
my match of the night.
It is. I mean, it really is. I was just so disappointed in the ending, but oh well. What can we do? After that,
Yep.
we had Damage Control versus Lyle Valkyria, Katana Chance, and Kaden Carter, which is an awkward pairing or grouping, I should say. 'Cause
Yeah.
it's not a pair, it's a group. But it worked, I guess, for what they were trying to do. Damage Control trying to regain their chokehold on the women's division, trying to become again the top heels in the locker room, and who better than the Party Crew and Lyra Valkyria, a rookie for in terms of Raw. I know she's been wrestling for a while under NXT,
Yeah.
but after that, I think probably one of the biggest things I saw was, like, of course, they had a triple suplex, which always looks good. I love teamwork. I like seeing that happen. And then they hit the cake stand, and then they're about to hit the win, but then Io, came out of nowhere, broke up the pin, and then hit the over the moonsault and won. Pretty standard, cut and dry. Damage Control takes the win. But what happened afterwards is Sonya Deville, Shayna Baszler, and Zoe Stark just destroyed everybody in the ring, very viciously and aggressively, which is what I feel we were missing with Shayna, with the team up between Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark. I think that's what we were missing is that next level. They were already intense, but they could go another notch, and it looks like going with Sonya Deville. They've now formed a new faction between the three of them. Sonya cut like a little mini promo or something like that afterwards about, this is what I've been trying to tell them, and now this is what you guys are going to get. So now we have another powerhouse faction. I'm curious to see what they do. Obviously now they're going to feud with Damage Control, and we'll see how that goes. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it was what it was. Like, they've been teasing, like, she's been trying to recruit them for weeks and weeks, and then I guess finally the recruitment worked off camera, and now they're all buddies. The match itself was just like the setup for that, and I think this is where too a lot of the matches, especially on this episode, are just kind of set up for storyline.
Yeah.
Where they don't necessarily, the pairing doesn't make sense. It's like Pete Dunne versus Bronson Reed didn't really make sense, but they were doing this to do the Sheamus thing. And then you had this one where Lyra Valkyria and Carter and Chance just all teaming
Randomly.
together for the six-man randomly. This was just set up as a vehicle for that. They had that triple suplex moment that felt a little silly during the match, because then they're trying to set up like the double suplex, and then the other one's running in triple suplex. It was like something you would see on the indie scene. It's like that the video where they're all lining up and they're all going to stun each other at the same time. Like, it had that vibe to it.
The eight man stunner.
Yeah, the eight man stunner, and then the referee jumps in and does it too. Like, it had such an indie scene, like, silly vibe to it that I was like, okay. But this was just a vehicle for them.
Yeah.
I just would have liked to see more matches where the match itself was meaningful, versus it trying to set up something for a storyline. But it was fine. It was okay.
Well, you got what you wanted, because a meaningful match was the main event, which was Dom and Liv teaming up against Rey Mysterio and Selena Vega. Leading up to it, though, I do want to say there was that funny moment where they were in the back, and Dom was, Liv was talking to Dom, and Dom's like, no, I don't want to team up. And she's like, yeah, here, let me help you out. And she's stretching him. But it's kind of the opposite way, like playing to Dominic being like the one that likes to be the submissive. Sorry, kids, cover your ears. But it had like Dom being like the submissive, because, Liv was stretching his hamstrings, and the Judgment Day, like, almost comically, like sitcom-ish, walks in on them. And my favorite part, and I had to go back to just point this out, my favorite part was the way JD and Finn just poked their heads through the wall on the side. Instead of walking through with everybody else, they just like had their heads above each other, like out the wall. And I thought that was the funniest thing ever, because even they knew it, because they kind of chuckled a little bit, and it was hilarious. And then Carlito pointing out that Dom was a little excited was hilarious. Was the 13-year-old in me was giggling because that was funny, but
Oh yeah, with Damian Priest going like, "Hey man, I don't know how you can't stay away from her. It's not that hard." He's like, "Yeah, it's pretty hard to me." Like everything about it was so cheesy, but it was great. Like I was like, that was for me was one of outside of the Wyatt segment that's different. I was like, this is the best comedy segment for the night.
Oh yeah,
because everything about it was goofy and silly. It kept playing back into Damian Priest getting turned on at some point because he was like, hey, now you're starting to remind me of my dad. And then Damian Priest was like, now I'm starting to understand your dad.
Yeah.
So they had that little jab in there. Yeah. And I'm like, this is kind of continuing to, obviously, that he's going to leave Judgment Day. There's going to be a betrayal. But that whole segment was awesome.
It was great. I just had to go back to it because I just thought that was hilarious. And I still have that image of JD and Finn Balor poking their heads through the side of the wall instead of walking in. I thought that was hilarious. But anywho, we had the match. The match was fun. It was good. It was fine. Of course, you had Liv Morgan saving Dom a bunch of times. Again, playing to that whole dynamic that Dominic is used to being the submissive one, and Rhea was always the one that was the protector. It wasn't the other way around, right? Because that's the dynamic they had. And so Liv kind of, again, I think as far as the storyline goes, it helped because it showed Liv really trying to replace Rhea in that role because she was saving him. She was doing the save. She was making the matches for him, talking for him, all that stuff, right? So I think that all that kind of led up to this. Yeah. But Dominic, of course, doing the heel things, trying to rip off his dad's mask, which Rey was able to evade, which, by the way, I'm going to jump on a soapbox here for a second. Why are we pretending like Rey Mysterio is still upholding the luchador tradition? I am Mexican and I love my roots and I love my lucha libre and I know the rules and I know how important the mask is to the wrestlers. But when he travels, he doesn't wear his mask, which I know most luchadores maybe don't. But in true traditional fashion, you should never take off your mask unless you're at home. But of course. We're gonna pretend like WCW didn't happen, and we had like almost like a full year and a half, I think, of Rey Mysterio wrestling without a mask. We all know what he looks like without a mask, but it's okay for the story. It's fine. I just had to get him. I just had to put that out there because I just find it silly at this point. But after that, Zelina Vega got, of course, getting her revenge on Liv Morgan, attacking her with the flurry of offense and almost. Hit that Meteora that almost got the match, but then, Dominic tried to go for the Three Amigos, and then that didn't work. It was just a good back and forth, but at the end of the day, Zelina Vega hit her own 619 on Liv Morgan, and then Dom, that's what happened, hit the frog splash, and then he defeated Rey Mysterio for the first time. They had to note that, right? They had to make that note, because even with Rhea, he wasn't able to beat his dad. But with Liv, he was. And of course, they celebrated in the ring, and I'm there screaming at my TV, Dom, don't be stupid, because I had my suspicions. I feel like there was a tell during the show that something was going to happen. And I'll tell you guys after this. Yeah. So you had them celebrating, hugging, and then they kind of did like the whole rom-com thing where they're like, not rom-com, but romantic movie thing where they like have their foreheads touch, and they Liv Morgan pulls him down, they fall into the mat, and then right as soon as he's about to cave, Rhea's music hits, and they both look absolutely terrified, and rightfully so, because she is going to murder both of them. And so
they're both
dead. She came storming down the ring. It looks like she did a little bit different with her hair, like a little bit of a different appearance. I really couldn't pinpoint it because she just like came down so pissed, and she was like, of course, Liv Morgan just booked it and like ran backwards to the audience and went out that way. And Rhea, of course, Dom trying to explain himself, she's not having it. They had an exchange of words, and she just kind of shoved him away. He followed her up the ramp like a puppy, apologizing after the show because it cut off. But afterwards, he's walking up the ramp.
It cut off on the broadcast.
Yeah, but she's walking back up the ramp, and he's following her, trying to apologize and talk to her. And she just, she said something to him. I really didn't hear it, but she was livid, and rightfully so. The tell on this, though, and I love the surprise. I thought it was great. Everyone was surprised, all that good stuff. But the tell was during Raw, I would say midpoint through, Damian Priest gets a phone call backstage on his phone, and he's like, "Oh, you're here? Okay, cool. All right." And he hung up, and he was smiling. We all knew who that was. Yeah. we all knew that was Rhea.
Yeah, we knew who that was, and then later he said there's a surprise for Dom later, and like he said that later on too, and it was like, okay, you got a mystery phone call, and it's a surprise for Dom. Like it's Rhea.
It's Rhea. Yeah, and Dom didn't pick up on the hint. Dumb on him because now he's in the doghouse. But I was there, like I was telling Dom, don't break. But obviously through my TV, he's not going to listen. No? But it is what it is. What did you think of everything?
Anyway. It's so like the match was fine. It was good. This was again another vehicle for a storyline where it was like this whole thing was set up for the return of Rhea Ripley, and that made sense. I think the kind of the acting with Dom and Liv looking like they're about to get murdered was great. Like everybody played this really, really well. Yeah. I'm curious about the timing was perfect also because you knew she's coming back for SummerSlam. And SummerSlam was like in 3 weeks. It's like they got to get her back so they can set the table for her versus Liv at SummerSlam. That's obviously what they were going to build to. Yeah. So this gives them enough time to do that. Really coming off the last PLE. So all the boxes checked. I'm curious how they're going to approach this on Monday night now that Rhea's back officially, because they've been setting the table for the Judgment Day breakup, and I presume they're going to have to hurry up and do that before SummerSlam or maybe at SummerSlam, because at this point everyone's going to have to choose sides, because you got JD and Finn who are clearly accepting of Liv. She helped them become tag team champions. Finn obviously has problems with Damian Priest, and they've already set that up for him to turn on DP. Obviously JD's with him. Carlito's just kind of in the mix, but he's had a better times under Liv Morgan's pseudo management than he did with everybody else, because Damian Priest wasn't really accepting of him. I'm presuming this is all for a face turn for Rhea Ripley and Damian Priest, because they've been setting Damian up as a face. Yeah. He let Seth Rollins out of the gentleman's agreement, which is silly, but he let him out of it. So that's why I was like, that's a waste of the whole stipulation. If you're just like, never mind, don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it. It's fine.
So it's fine, anytime, any place. So that was dumb, but they've already set the table for that. Rhea gets cheered like a face anyway. She does. This is the progression of just steering into it now. So I'm excited to see what they do on the next couple of Monday nights to move that storyline forward, and either just have them strike out on their own. You got Rhea doing her own thing. She doesn't need a faction anymore, or however they're going to play this out. But it was good. It's a good way to close the show.
All I know is that if we don't have a custody of Dom ladder match, we will riot.
I know. I've been waiting for that this whole summer. You got to do custody of Dom part 2. Has to happen.
As an adult. Yeah, I think overall I'll give the show a B, because just like you said, a lot of the matches didn't mean anything, didn't really carry any weight. However, I did like a lot of the segments. Of course, Uncle Howdy and Wyatt Six is awesome, of course. But the biggest thing, though, to me is the way they're going to do the Judgment Day. My personal opinion, and I'll end on that note there. I feel what's going to end up happening is they're going to have Damian Priest and Rhea. Obviously, there's going to be tension because I think Rhea has a leg to stand on in going back to Damian Priest and saying, if you've seen this happening, why didn't you call me sooner? Of course, Dom's more to blame, but it's going to be like, well, this happened under your watch. Like, what the hell, And so he can't take credit for the tag team titles because, like you said, Liv is the one reason they have the tag team titles. And the comments he made about how the Judgment Day needs him more than he needs them, So that's going to happen. As far as how the chips are going to fall, I think Rhea's going to be on her own, and I think obviously Finn and JD are going to stick together, and I feel like Carlito's going to kind of stick with Damian. Because they, I think he's kind of earned. You've been noticing more and more him standing next to Damian Priest a little bit more, unless you have JD, Finn, and Carlito work together as a trio. That could possibly happen as well. So, but at the end of the day, I think when all is said and done, and I know it's going to contradict exactly what I just said, but I feel you're going to have Rhea go at Liv to regain her title that she never lost, and so you're going to have the two champions standing on their own. Being by themselves. You're going to have Damian Priest by himself, and you're going to have Rhea Ripley by herself. And I think that's where it's going to go for future. And Liv is going to, I think Dom is probably going to just side with Liv, and I think that's what's going to end up happening because it was under Liv, really, figuratively and literally, that he was able to get the victory over his dad, So
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see. I'm curious to see how it happens.
We shall see. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. And then I would give Raw. I'll say it's a B. I give it a B show. I think the Wyatt stuff was A plus plus.
Mm-hmm.
That Judgment Day comedy segment was A plus plus. But
Awesome.
overall, just because of the wrestling was, yeah, it was okay.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I like my wrestling shows to have good wrestling. So
Yes.
I'll
Call
give
us
it a B
crazy, but we
overall.
like good wrestling on a wrestling show.
I know. I want their good wrestling to be primary, not secondary. But which takes us to SmackDown. And SmackDown, again, coming off Money in the Bank also. Opened with the women's Money in the Bank winner, since we actually still have one winner left that hasn't cashed in. So that was Tiffany Stratton. Came out, cut her heel promo, took some jabs at Trish Stratus. Still got cheered the whole time. Which was interesting because they were doing the Tiffy time chants. She's super over right now, and she was out there at the heel doing the heel thing in front of what should have been a pro Trish Stratus crowd, and still couldn't get heat. So that's interesting to see, and good for her. She got interrupted by Bayley, and then Bayley congratulated her on the win, and then kind of ran her down a little bit. They did the back and forth thing where she was talking about, Tiff didn't know what the WWE was in 2019,
which made me feel old.
They had some. I know. I was like, yeah. I mean, hey, Tiffany she was in the Olympics. She was doing other things, or she was training for the Olympic team at that point. She gave her advice not to cash in on her, or she'd become the first woman to fail a cash in, which I didn't realize that the women's Money in the Bank cash in rate was 100%. So that was an interesting little tidbit. And then Nia Jax came out and interrupted and confronted Bayley because they've got a match coming up at SummerSlam in 3 weeks. So they all did that thing. This kind of spiraled into a physical confrontation, which was 2-on-1 with Nia and Tiff taking on Bayley. And then Michin intervened with a kendo stick and broke things up, which led immediately into Michin versus Nia Jax, which was then conveniently the match that was next. So that all worked out really, really well to be set up. But and this one I'll say was surprisingly competitive for Michin versus Nia Jax, because Nia's been kind of billed as the super heel, and Michin really hadn't done anything recently. So the fact that it went on as long as it did, and it was as back and forth and competitive, and they had like a whole commercial break and everything that went through it as well. Nia, of course, won, which she was going to. She's not going to lose for SummerSlam. She did pick up the win. She hit the Annihilator. Bayley was ringside the whole time as well. Tiff was ringside. And then Bayley got attacked by Nia and Tiffany afterwards again. And this was probably the best moment for me, was once they beat down Bayley. And then you had a moment there where Tiff kind of lingered in the ring and was thinking about cashing in right then. And had the briefcase and started walking up to the ref. And the crowd started going crazy. And then Nia came over and gave her like the look of death, like, hey, what are you doing? So they're already sowing like some seeds of dissension for this group that's just started. Of course, Tiff was like, just kind of weighing my options, and she abandoned that. So that was pretty interesting as well. Kind of fun to see. I'm glad they didn't do something silly like have her try to cash in right then. And then we'd have used 2 briefcases in the course of like 2 weeks. But it was a good moment that's setting the table for later. But what did you think of all this?
So again, the match was just copy paste from Raw. It was just there just for the sake of the storyline. But of course, Nia Jax is going to win. And at the end of it, I kind of felt like even when Tiffany Stratton had Nia Jax help her to win her spot into the Money in the Bank match, I knew there was going to be something going on there, right? And now you see that. I think Nia made the comment of like that Tiffany's her like Barbie doll or whatever. So it looks like I feel like Tiffany Stratton's just kind of playing the dumb part for now to kind of make Nia think that that's her friend, because she's definitely cashing in at SummerSlam. I'm guessing.
Yeah,
I mean, I know
she has to,
but she's gonna cash in, and I feel it might be on Nia or it might be on Bayley. It depends who wins the match. Nia may win the match because Bayley's held the title for what I think it said 96 days at the time, but I feel like they're gonna. If Bayley drops the title, they're going to do the copy paste on Drew with Nia, where Tiffany's going to obviously be out at ringside to support her bestie, and she's going to turn on her and get the victory. So I think that's what they're. And if it doesn't happen at SummerSlam, then it's going to be a slow build of like building up Nia's trust, and then cashing in when she least suspect it at another PLE. But that's I feel like that's almost a definitive thing that's going to happen as far as Tiffany Stratton cashing in on Nia or betraying Nia at some point. So, but yeah, it was good storytelling.
And they might try to do that before Bad Blood, so they can have a match of Bad Blood together.
Yeah,
like they're building back to the Bad Blood pay-per-view. That's going to be in October. So maybe they've got a chance to build some Bad Blood between the two of them with a little betrayal action. But we'll see. We'll see how that goes. Yeah. Next up was they had a little Bloodline promo with Solo talking about Roman going soft and the Bloodline losing all their titles and that he's here to build a more powerful family. And then by the end of the night, everyone will acknowledge him. So teaser for later, a real brief video package from him. And then we got a little Andrade versus Carmelo Hayes teaser as well. So they're building to that.
All for that.
Justin FY, that should be great. It should be a barn burner. The whole post interview thing was a little awkward. And Andrade's like, "What do I've got next? Let me think what I've got next. I've got you next." Like it was just a little cheese balls for me, but it was fine. I mean, it's the matches should be really good. We'll put it that way. The matches are going
to be amazing.
Yeah, that I'm looking forward to see because I thought they were going to do a Carmelo Hayes LA Knight thing and they never really got there.
I think they got to wait till LA Knight wins the title off of Logan Paul first. I think.
Yeah, they got to do that, which they set the table for that, and also later on too. But next, as far as wrestling goes, we got Baron Corbin and Apollo Crews versus Angel and. I'm still calling him Umberto because Berto just sounds weird to me. But this one was where, again, it goes back to like, here are pairings that don't make a ton of sense. It's like you just threw Corbin and Crews together just for something to do. So you knew they weren't going to win. Still a very entertaining match. So this one I enjoyed together a lot. Yeah. They did really well together. They had good chemistry. When Apollo Crews kind of launched Corbin did like the run to do the suicide dive, and he kind of grabbed him and launched him over the top rope to take out Angel Umberto was great. Match was a lot of fun, and Corbin looked great the whole time.
He did.
You just knew as a makeshift team they weren't going to beat Angel Umberto. But still, I was thoroughly wrestling entertained. Apollo Crews ended up taking the wing clipper from Angel Garza after Electra Lopez got a distraction, which allowed Santos Escobar to run in and knee him in the face. So not a clean finish, I guess to help Crews and Corbin save face a little bit. But it was fun. It was a good match. This is that continuation because they took out Apollo Crews. Legado de Fantasma did like weeks and weeks ago. So kind of just still, it's just giving everybody something to do because I don't really feel like it's building to anything meaningful. But what did you think of this one?
I thought it was a fun one. I was impressed with how well Apollo Crews and Baron Corbin worked well together. That was good to see. I'm happy to see that. I honestly thought, but of course it can't happen because Baron Corbin's on SmackDown. But it would have made more sense to have Baron Corbin helping out Braun Breaker because they were NXT tag team champions, if I'm not mistaken, at one point. True. And them together, but then again, them together, Braun Breaker wasn't the crazy, mad, deranged man that he is now. They were more of a comedy, like a little. They had a little comedy to them, which was fun to see because Baron Corbin was hilarious, and so was Braun. I like the match. Berto and Angel Garza, I like them. Of course, they're fun to watch. I feel like they just kind of get shoved to the wayside a little bit sometimes, but they're able to showcase what they can do here. Nothing spectacular, nothing over the top, nothing. It was a fine wrestling match. It was wrestling. I was wrestling entertained.
Yeah, thoroughly wrestling entertained. And then there was lots of just weird little, like, meaningless segments. They had a whole thing where Chelsea Green and Piper throughout the night were waiting outside of Nick Aldis' office to try to get time with him.
That neck brace
with the
hilarious.
Neck brace on, yeah.
The purple neck brace with the diamond-studded neck brace.
Yeah, it's that neck brace. It's like she's there with the neck brace waiting, and to no avail the whole time. And so she kept waiting in line. And then Pretty Deadly showed up. They were trying to get their musical approved. So they're all hanging out, waiting. While they're waiting, LA Knight just emerges from the office, and he's like, "Oh, yeah, he's working with some people. We'll be right back." And then he books it on down to the ring, and then they go to the break. And then after the break, you get a real quick teaser with Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton, where Randy Orton's like, "Hey, look, man, Solo's and coming after the title. If things go sideways later, I'll have your back, even though I know you don't want me to have your back," and all that stuff. So setting the table for later. Kept calling them a bunch of Samoans, which is not correct because they're Tongans. But he must have said it like 3 times. Like, all those rascally Samoans, and it's like Tongans. So they kept going back to that. But Randy's got his back later, set up for later on.
I like how he's just doing the Big Brother role. It's hilarious.
Yeah, he's like
the
I know
big
you don't
brother.
want me
It's
to,
all right,
but I'll
buddy.
be there.
I got you.
And he's like, thanks, dude. And then LA Knight finally made it out to the ring. Apparently, Wade Barrett's loins were tingling. That's what he said, that's a little horrifying.
Awkward moment of the night.
Like, yeah, he's like, my loins are tingling. I don't know about you. And I'm like, well, they're not, that's not happening, but cool, good for you.
Cool. Get that checked out.
We got to do a segment. We got to do a segment of who had the more awkward comment between Wade Barrett and Pat McAfee. Just like start listing.
Just put them together on commentary. Just put them together as a team and just let them.
Just watch the absurd and awkward moments fly.
You do it at Royal Rumble. You do it for the men's Royal Rumble match, and you put them together.
Men's Royal Rumble, just have them both out there, just throwing out comments.
Yes,
because it's always like, oh, okay, all right, y'all. Well, yeah, they probably will. They're moving back to a 3-man booth on SmackDown, so that'll be interesting. But so LA Knight made it out, and then basically just cut a promo about Money in the Bank. Very long story short, he's like, I got a contract. It's signed by me. It's signed by Nick. It's not signed by Logan Paul, and Logan Paul's not here. I'll get him to sign it. We're going to fight at SummerSlam. Logan Paul hasn't signed the contract yet. Yeah, that's basically
he's going to draw it out.
What LA Knight said.
Yeah.
Well, so next week I'm sure he's going to show up at his house again since he likes to do home invasions. I'm sure he'll show up at Logan Paul's house and beat him up and make him sign it. There's going to be some absurdity there. But we're apparently going to get, hopefully, at SummerSlam, sounds like we will, U.S. Championship match with LA Knight. Gosh, I hope they give him the title. I don't think that'll happen.
I'm hoping
you never
they do.
know.
I'm hoping they do because I'm so sick and tired of Logan Paul being an absent champion. And I know he has other stuff going on, which is fine, but that's why you don't put a title on somebody like that. I know sponsorships and all that crap, but still, LA Knight is so super over as well. I think he'll do great as a U.S. champion, and it'll be good to see. So hopefully they make that happen. Obviously, I feel Logan Paul's going to evade the title, evade the contract. I think he's going to take a page out of Roman Reigns' book and not sign the contract until right before the match starts at SummerSlam. You remember when Roman Reigns did that?
I could see that.
We'll see.
But then after this, we got Blair Davenport video package, followed immediately by Blair Davenport versus Naomi. Match was fine. I mean, it was. I was surprised that Naomi picked up a clean win over Blair. That's probably the most surprising one of the nights.
Okay.
After the promo, and I was like, oh, this is totally like a hype piece for Blair Davenport, and then here's poor Naomi coming out to job for her, and then I was like, oh, Naomi won. Like I was actually surprised because I'm like, this totally seemed like Naomi and Michin and some others have really fallen into like almost this enhancement talent role now, where they just go out there and get beat by new people. So I was glad to see she didn't get beat here, but because I figured that was going to happen. But the match was fine. It was what it was. And then after this, they had Naomi, Jaden, and Bianca Belair backstage, and there was a moment where Belair was like, "Hey, no hard feelings, great job." Shook her hand and then turned around and hit her from behind and attacked her. So I guess we're getting more Blair Davenport versus Naomi and building towards that. Match itself was fine. Nothing to write home about. It felt more like filler to me.
Yeah, I agree. And that's really what it was. It's just giving Blair Davenport some exposure, giving her a little bit of offense. But at the end of the day, she ended up taking the loss. So I'm not sure how that's going to do for her character development down the line. But it did further that feud. Obviously, they're going to have another feud, another match. So who knows how that's going to go? Maybe Blair wins the next one, and then they do the tiebreaker, the rubber match at SummerSlam or pre-show. Who knows? Or SmackDown before SummerSlam.
Yeah. We'll see how it goes. And then we moved into, I'll call it the last match of the night. I won't call it the main event. The main event was the promo, but the last match of the night, which was DIY against A-Town Down Under again for the tag titles. I'm not sure why they got an immediate rematch here.
So many other tag teams.
The immediate rematch clause things.
Yeah,
there's a lot of other tag teams, and it wasn't like that A-Town Down Under was a long reigning tag team that earned this opportunity for an immediate rematch. So that was a little strange.
Yeah.
But it was, I enjoyed it. A-Town Down Under did look more focused and angry to kind of start out, particularly Austin Theory. He was a little bit more brutal to start off and more focused. So that was a little bit of a nice change. It seemed like that they were kind of taking this matchup a little bit more seriously.
Yeah.
There were some sloppy spots from Waller throughout where it was more than once where they were like, "Hey, I'm not sure what he was trying to do there." Like he tried to do I think it was like a DDT off of the top rope and kind of dumped. I think it was Tomasa off. Like it was kind of awkwardly done. He had another spot later on that he kind of slipped and messed up on, so he looked a little sloppy and a little lost and mistimed, which was kind of strange. Yeah. Basically, a long story short, you saw the same beats that you've seen with a lot of the A-Town Down Under stuff, which is Waller taking advantage of Theory, Waller taking out his partner. That's essentially how it happened. And they were trying to hit, I think it was Ciampa with the meat in the middle. And then Waller accidentally kind of kicked Theory in the hamstring, and he kind of came up lame. And then he ran back and tried to throw a flying knee and hit Theory with the flying knee. So he hit him twice in a row and took him out. And then DIY was able to hit the meat in the middle on Waller, and that was it. So they retained. It was fine. It was filler. You didn't expect they were going to lose here.
No.
I guess this is just more of the build-up to Waller and Theory are going to have to break up at some point. Yeah. And at some point, you can't keep ignoring the fact that he keeps taking his partner out every single time.
Something's going to be
next week. But it was fine. It was just kind of an odd main event because it seemed inconsequential to me.
It really did, and I feel that I feel like they keep giving them these title shots, and we have so many other tag teams out there on SmackDown that can, compete for it. I mean, I don't understand why we just got to keep on with this feud, and even though we already know what's going to happen, I know they're furthering the feud, but here's what bothers me is that it's not a feud that's gonna benefit from more storytelling, because it's winding up to or building up to an actual split of a tag team. So if you have the tag team champs and you have the contenders and they're going up, but then the storyline is that the contenders are going to split, you no longer have contenders for the tag team titles. So it's pretty much meaningless for the tag champions. Rather, I think you should put them in another feud or some kind of, another tournament or something worthwhile where you can have Waller and Theory break up during a match, right? Trying to maybe out of frustration, out of losing again or whatever, then you can have that split. And it still furthers this tag division, but I don't know. I'm not understanding that part. We'll see, I guess, what happens going forward. But yeah. But I did like after the match.
And the final segment after the match. So this led into the final segment, the main event, we'll call it, which, as soon as the match was over, like Jacob Fatu just came out and destroyed DIY, which I was kind of like, okay. So that's the other issue that I really have with this is like they're your tag team champions, and you had the tag team champions just get absolutely wrecked by one guy. Which I'm like, again, I think they've done a good job of trying to make Jacob Fatu this monster heel enforcer who knows sells and does all that. But I'm like, not at the expense of DIY, but fine. I get it. Yeah. So he comes out and destroys them, and then Solo and Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa all come down and join him in the ring, and then you go to break and come back, and Solo told Boston to acknowledge him. They did not acknowledge him. Just a spoiler alert. We got a lot of "We Want Roman" chants. Then he talked about, hey, you don't need to acknowledge me. Like, he started talking about everyone that didn't acknowledge him now being gone. So you got Jimmy, you got Paul Heyman, Roman Reigns, and if Roman Reigns comes back, he's going to have to acknowledge him or he's going to be out, basically. I liked the comment I liked also that he said when they were cheering "We Want Roman," he goes, "Don't cheer for him now. Don't cheer for him now. You don't deserve Roman. You got me now." And I liked that a lot because I'm like, it's true. It's like you guys ragged on Roman and talked about how you booed him all the time. You talked about how he never defended his title. Now you don't get to chant for him. You're stuck with me. So I like that a lot. I thought
that was a good line.
And then they called out that it was Cody Rhodes' turn to acknowledge him. Cody's music hit straight away, came down to the ring, joined them in the ring without any fear. He just went for it, which is kind of stupid. Back when Roman said, hey, you're kind of an idiot. You're stupid, Cody. This is what Roman Reigns was talking about, because that was a very stupid thing to do. And he goes down there and immediately said that he was going to defend the title against Solo at SummerSlam. So he's like, we'll get it. We'll make the contract. We'll make it happen. And then the Bloodline immediately circled him and just started their beatdown. Which, what else did you think was going to happen, Cody? And then, of course, Randy Orton's music hit. He ran down. True to his word, he was going to come down and help out. And then he helped clear the ring, but then he got taken out by Jacob again, who's Superman. Like, if there was ever a Super Cena version from the Tongans, it's just going to be Jacob Fatu, because he comes out there and just wrecks everybody. Yeah, and they never have a chance. So he wrecked him, and then the beatdown on Randy Orton was on, and so you have Solo and Jacob kind of got Cody Rhodes, and they wrapped his arms and they tangled him in the ropes, and they're like holding him like, you're gonna watch this. And then they're beating down Randy, and then they hit him with the steps, and then they hit him with super kicks, and then they get Orton with the triple power bomb through the announce table, and then Cody screaming, take me, which is a little dramatic for Friday Night SmackDown. I gotta tell you, when as it was going down, I was like, okay guys, this is a little much. Like, Cody's just really playing into it, just going for the Oscar here. And then Solo like walked up and just killed him with a Samoan spike, and he was like lifeless, dangling in the ropes. And then that's how we went off air. So it was just absolute wildness. Cody looking like a chump once again, getting punked out by everybody and left just wrecked. Which has become the thing now with Cody. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Please stop just trashing Cody and wrecking Cody and making him look weak all the time. Because he looked very weak, and the screaming, take me, was a little too much for me. But it does build up the bloodline. What did you think?
It does. And I think the only saving grace on this segment for Cody getting beat down was that he got jumped, right? It was outnumbered.
Right.
But I
mean, he didn't get jumped. He walked into a buzzsaw.
I know, but I say it's hard. It's hard to defend.
It wasn't like he was.
You know what it was? He was doing
Steiner
Steiner
like he was
math.
hanging out backstage, and he was like, walking to his car, and they got him. Like, that would have made. Instead, he like just walks right in and then gets in the middle of them. It's like, dude, what the heck were you thinking, man? Like,
well, he was doing Steiner math, is what he was doing. He had a 33 and a third chance percent. But hey, he did his best. but at the end of the day, I do want to acknowledge one thing, and that's that
Solo. You can acknowledge it?
How athletic Jacob Fatu is, because during the DIY beatdown, that was like a double springboard off the ropes moonsault thing that he did was amazing, and he just flies around the ring effortlessly. But yeah, this whole beatdown, I like the little hints, their little jabs to Roman, because they essentially did the shield bomb on Randy. You didn't cheer for him then, you don't deserve him now, which is true. I hated face Roman. I despised face Roman. I loved heel Roman because of the way they just like, he kind of just like, okay, yeah, I am going to win everything just because I am Roman Reigns. Like, you know what I mean? It was great. And I thought it was great. He got lots of boos. People hated him. Lots of complaints about him. And people were just like, oh my God, Roman needs to lose the title. And he did. And now you have a new tribal chief and folks don't like it. And I like that they're leaning into it, really leaning into it instead of trying to act like it's not there. And so the jabs are
be careful
awesome.
what you wish for, because you just might get it.
Exactly. Yeah. So I'm a fan of it. I'm curious to see how this furthers along. I want to see what happens between them now, right? Obviously, we're going to get Cody and Solo at SummerSlam, I'm assuming, for the title. Yeah. I don't think Cody's going to drop it. Maybe that's when Roman's going to come back out to,
see, that's what I'm worried about, because I'm wondering if they're going to set it up for Roman comes back to save him and keeps him from losing the title, which again would make him look weak, because at this point you've built them up so much. I don't think they're going to have them lose legitimately until Roman comes back, and then Roman's going to be the one to do that to Solo,
unless Cody does win clean, and right as the Bloodline's about to jump him, Roman's music hits and you have Roman and Jimmy come back, that could be another.
Well, and I'd be fine with that. I just don't want them to be like
I would
Roman
rather
has
Cody
to be the
win
one
clean
to come back and save him from losing. Yeah, I'd rather he win clean. It's like don't make it controversial. Don't make him look weak. Yeah. That's what I'm concerned about. I'm concerned with how they're going to play it out, because I think it's obvious that Roman's going to come back at SummerSlam now, and they're going to have him at least be a part of that match to some capacity. It's just kind of to what extent.
Well, on the bright side,
but yeah,
we will be able. Mm-hmm. Yeah, on the bright side, SummerSlam is going to be a jam-packed, fun event. So fun, in fact, we are treating our viewers and thanking y'all with our first live reactions live stream ever.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, so we're going to be live and streaming live through YouTube. So if you're watching this on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, whatever you're watching it through right now, we will be live on YouTube and streaming our reactions live directly from one of my favorite places in town is Old Sheepdog Brewery, home of La Cerveza del Pueblo, which means the beer of the people. So I may be having a few, so excuse my reactions, but I'm not going to apologize for them because they will be genuine. But yeah, it's going to be lots of fun.
They will be genuine. They'll come from the heart.
Yes, the truth.
Yeah, it's gonna be great. Looking forward to it. So if you're in El Paso, you can join us at Old Sheepdog, hang out. They got lots of great stuff happening that day as well. They got some art exhibits. It's a cool place. So come out. Check it out. We'll be broadcasting live as well. We can be your companion show while you're watching SummerSlam at home. You can have us on as well, and we'll all watch it together. You can comment throughout, and we'll comment back as well. So it's going to be a great time. We are looking forward to it, and it'll be here in a few short weeks because SummerSlam's right around the corner. So August 3rd, we'll be here before we know it.
Yes, it will, and there'll be lots of fun to watch. So join us. Let's do it. And again, thank you guys. We exceeded 7,000 subscribers on YouTube, and we couldn't do it without you guys. So thank you to all of you who have watched, subscribed, shared, liked everything. Even the comments, even the you don't agree or you think we're full of it. I don't care. It's still engaging, and we know that you guys are watching and talking to us and letting us know how you feel. Because there's, in my opinion, no fan base more passionate than wrestling fan base, I feel, and I will die on that hill. I'll put that up against any other sport or any other group of people. I don't want the Swifties to come after me, but I still feel that WWE is a very strong fan base. I think they may be.
The Swifties are pretty brutal.
Yeah, so
I got to tell you, they come
after the Swifties. Then it's wrestling fans, okay?
Then wrestling fans. Power. The Swifties will go old. The Swifties will go old Jacob Fatu on you if you're not careful. They'll tear you down. But yeah, looking forward to it, and couldn't agree more. Couldn't have said it better myself. And with that, that's what we got this week. But we appreciate you all as always. Till next time, I've been Michael D'Angelo. He's been Big D Daryl Ortiz, and we will see you soon. Have a great rest of your week, everyone.